Welcome to Draft Sickos on the No Ceilings NBA YouTube channel and podcast feed. And this is a special episode because it is the second annual Sicko Bowl, the Portsmouth Invitational mock draft. I'm your host, Maxwell Stephen. I'm joined as always by the real star of the show, Stephen Gillespie. Stephen, how are you doing tonight?
Maxwell, I'm excited. We have been ramping up for the heavily anticipated Portsmouth Invitational Draft Sicko Bowl here, and I'm excited, man. We have talked a lot offline, obviously, as to the depth of this class, like just the star power, the Sicko star power that this class has. It's incredible, and not all of the names that are rumored to be there have even been dropped yet.
Yeah, this is a great field. So for a few years now, we talked about the idea of like the Portsmouth bloodbath, that one of these years, the COVID year stuff was going to be over, and you were basically going to get like years ago. So I was like, oh, like 2020 is going to be a double draft because they're going to allow one and dones, which was a thing that never happened. But like this year, we have essentially a double draft of COVID year being over and your regular graduating seniors. And the end result is what I've talked to a lot of people behind the scenes in the last 24 hours, and people are like reputable people working in the basketball industry on just about every side are saying this is maybe the best Portsmouth field in terms of top to bottom that they can remember in the last several years. Obviously, This is a tournament with 71 years of history. In the past, you had some really stacked fields just because it was a lot more assumed back then that you would stay for all 4 years, what have you. But I think in recent history, in terms of top to bottom, the number of guys who plausibly have a chance of like playing real NBA minutes at some point is much higher than normal. I think this is a really strong field. You might not have a guy like, I feel like a few years ago, Tumani Kamara, where like he's going to go in and like beat everybody up. Like it felt like pretty good. Last year, it felt like, okay, well, there's a couple guys that can work their way into two-way range, maybe even get drafted. I feel like this year, the number of guys that I have like in two-way range right now is higher than normal. And I'm all for it. And if you're hearing that as an agent or somebody and you're like, oh, maybe I should pull my guy out, don't do it. You don't know how teams are going to vote on who goes to the combine, who goes to elite camp. Last year, we saw some chicanery. Some guys that weren't so good got voted in because teams want to be cute with it. They want to hide guys from other teams. This is your chance. This is your chance to play and show teams that you're ready to go, that you belong at the next level. So I love it. I love that we have an absolutely loaded field. We'll shout out the rookie scale crew that does the Portsmouth mock every year. They do a phenomenal job with that in terms of intel, putting together what they expect the field to be. And one thing they do every year is they put together a list of like projected declines, like guys who would normally decline a Portsmouth
based on intel.
Yeah, and like those are smart guys. Sean Shevkovich works for Draft Express. You don't get to do that if you're a dummy. So like he's a legend in the draft space essentially. And the fact that like there were guys that he projected as declines that accepted is like, oh buddy, this is great. This is great. So I'm super excited, as you can tell. How are the vibes for you? You get to be there in person too.
Yeah. I'm excited, man. Well, first off, shout out to the rest of the No Ceilings crew who just wrapped up a very informative and fun week at Hoop Summit this past week. It's been fun just to kind of hear from the boots on the ground that we have over there. But I'm stoked, dude. I'll be leaving when everyone's listening to this. If you're watching live, first off, thank you for joining us. We love having you. If you're listening on the podcast feed on a Monday, the next day I'm going to be leaving, and we'll be in Portsmouth getting ready to watch the Portsmouth Invitational tournament live. I'm super stoked. Maxwell, we talked about the depth of this class and like the fun of it. There are like some notable, dare I say, snubs to the Portsmouth Invitational tournament this year too. Yeah. Like some names that you and I like quite a bit that just couldn't get in because it's too full. And I'm excited. I'm ready. We've talked about some of the position groups, and I'm sure we'll dive on. We'll talk more about this as this episode progresses. But do you remember last year the conversation we were having about the guards, and we're like, no one can shoot, like the amount of settling that we had to do with like skill sets for positions and stuff like that. We're spoiled this year, man. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I am as well. This is a great class in general. So last year we did a snake draft format. So if you're new to the Sicko Bowl, this is basically a mock draft of who we view as the top prospects in the Portsmouth field. We're also like sort of building a team with roster construction in mind.
Yeah.
So we do also want to like build a team that makes sense on paper. So keep that in mind as well. Like that might affect who gets taken. And we'll talk at the end about other guys that we like. What we are going to do. So as we record this, the rest of the field is being announced. Because we mentioned that PIT mock that Rookie Skill does, it generally tends to be really accurate. We are using guys that are already announced, and we're also going to use guys on the Rookie Skill mock because we trust their work a lot. And we're working on the assumption that that's going to be correct, which I would assume it would be, unless after the fact somebody pulls out of the field or gets injured or what have you.
And if I could say too, like most of the names that have been announced, Maxwell, I feel like are the guys that you and I are going to be heavily interested in. So even though there's some really talented players that haven't been announced yet, I generally feel like it's not going to impact the names that you hear drafted today. So we might bring those up at the latter end of the show, but I felt like it was important to bring up.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's spot on. The other thing we'll do too is, we'll talk about guys that we considered. We could even talk about some snubs at the end, like guys that aren't projected to be in the event that we like at the end also. Because every year there are guys that get snubbed that end up doing real things. Like Jalen House was a guy that got snubbed last year. The year before that, I think, was the year that Dexter Dennis wasn't taken and then like was really good on a 2-way for the Mavs. So like every year there are guys that get snubbed from Portsmouth, like not even snubbed from the Combine or League Camp, but snubbed from Portsmouth. They go on to make a dent. So worth noting there as well. The way that we do this is we do a snake draft format and we do a coin toss to determine the order. Last year you called it. This year I will be calling it. And then I think, do I get to pick if I want the first pick or the 2-3? Or was it the number one pick?
I think it was just for the pick. I'm okay with you deferring whatever you want to do. If you want to.
Well, we'll take the number one pick when I win the coin toss. To be brash about that for no reason and look like an idiot in 10 seconds.
So I'll flip it and then I'll keep it covered. Then you call. That way I'm not trying to listen and flip it. I'm super nervous, Maxwell. I don't know how you did this last year. I'm afraid I'm going to drop it. I'm afraid I'm going to like swap my microphone or something stupid.
You're fine. So
it might not be the most textbook flip. So just everyone bear with me if you're watching live.
For sure. So we got flip, you're in a catch, and then I call it.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll keep it covered. All right. You ready?
Yep. Tails.
It is tails.
Let's go. For
video evidence, it is tails.
All right.
Yes, that's $50. No big deal.
First pick off the board. Do I want to get cute with it out of the gate and not take who the highest ranked prospect in the field is?
Of course you do.
I do.
You don't want to take the best player. You don't want to take the best player.
Why take the best player available at number one when you can get cute about roster construction at a Portsmouth?
It wouldn't be draft sickos if we just talked about the biggest of names within the deepest of sleepers,
Sure. So what I'm going to do is I'm immediately just going to give myself a lot of flexibility out of the gate. I will put out there the highest ranked prospect on my board of the Portsmouth players is Max Shulga. I am not going to draft Max Shulga. I'm going to draft Victor Locken out of Clemson.
I thought that's what you meant by getting cute with it, that you weren't going to take Victor Locken.
No. So we were texting about Victor Locken the other day. Victor Locken, like low-key, had a great season. So Locken is the guy covered for No Stone Unturned back when he was at Cincinnati after his sophomore year. He's 6'11", about 230, 235, somewhere in that range. He had a really good season, but I think it's his development that makes him particularly interesting. So this year, 11.4 points per game. Shot 50.7% from the field, 37.5% from three on 2 attempts per game, just under 70% at the free throw line, 6.4 boards, 1.5 assists to 1.5 turnovers, 1.5 blocks, and 1 steal per game. What I love about Victor Locken, I think the strong suit is going to be his defense. He had a 7.3 block rate. If you look through his career, his block rates had been kind of lower, but a lot of that was roster construction. So you look at the teams he played on at Cincinnati, and he was basically the 4 a lot of the times, whether it was like Aziz Bandiego, even like playing alongside like Dylan Mitchell. They played in some jumbo lineups. So he really didn't spend a whole lot of time as a traditional 5-man until this year at Clemson. And when he did, he was a big-time rim protector. But prior to that, I already really liked his defense because he's very scheme versatile. Like, he's really comfortable in drop. He's very fluid switching down. He's not super fast or explosive, but he moves really well on an island, and he really knows how to use his length in his hands to be a disruptive player, which is why he has that career 2.5 steal rate, which is absurd for a big. That is a really high steal rate. Good, but not great rebounder, but he's also, again, played on teams where he's alongside guys like Dylan Mitchell, Aziz Bandaogo, Ian Shefflin. Like, he's always played alongside monster rebounders, so I think there might be some low-hanging fruit there that can get picked up. The offensive development is what makes him so interesting. So 2 years ago, when I covered him for No Stone, what I loved was there was this like idea of defensive versatility. There was touch. Otherwise, the offense kind of stunk. Like, he was a complete black hole, never passed the ball. Like, you gave him the ball and like, there's a hook shot going up. It is not a dunk. It is not a jumper. It is a contested hook shot every time, and he will not lift to pass. He has turned into like a really good passer for a big guy, especially from the perimeter. And he's turned himself into a shooter. He took just under 5 threes per 100 possessions this year, 37.5% from deep. I know people are going to say he's a sub 70 free throw shooter. If you look at free throw percentage among bigs who end up shooting in the NBA, that's not bad. Like, he's an older guy, so like obviously you'd feel better about this if he was 18. I think Victor Locken is like one of those guys that, like, maybe it's just not enough across the board, but I think everything he brings to the table is potentially really valuable. Not the best athlete. Like, that's where I worry. Like, is he just one of those guys? Like, we were talking about some of the centers who just kind of like bounce around the league and like they're always just on a contract, but they don't really do a whole lot. I think there's a chance he might be that. But I think if he can become a knockdown shooter, the level of versatility that he can give to your team on both ends of the floor in a league where shooting matters more and more is really exciting. I think like there's a chance that he's a good 5-out big man on both sides of the ball, and also big that is comfortable playing alongside another big, which we see a lot of success with 2 big lineups now. So Victor Locken is my number 1 pick.
I don't blame you. He was number 1 here on my notes. He was going to be the guy that I was going to pick if you did not. I think that he has a chance out of this group to be the best NBA player, and I think that that's really saying a lot considering, the makeup of the field. 62nd in spot ups on Synergy, 73rd as the roll man, 59th off of cuts, and he does not have a single red area on a Bartorvik search. So that's how you know that you're good, is if Bartorvik says that you're green across the board, right? Good hands, good footwork. You talked about the offensive development, Maxwell. I love that he's got like counters to his moves now and paint on top of that contested hook that he can still take and hit. So I love it. In my notes, I have specifically that he's not a plus athlete. He kind of plays a smidge smaller than his listed measurables, but he's smart, man. He's better laterally than I think he is vertically. So I think that kind of keeps him in defensive plays, and he's also really, really strong, man. I don't know how much of a natural ball mover he is, but he has shown that like progression throughout the year. So even if you use him in like some scripted sets, like some DHO, some horns actions, whatever you want to do, short roll, 1 pass over type stuff, I feel like teams coach that a lot more than what they used to. I think that Victor Locken could be like a third big in a rotation, maybe even a second someday. Mm-hmm. He's highest on my board right now. Maxwell, I think of all the players that we're going to talk about tonight, I have 5 players that are within my top 100 that are going to be in Portsmouth, and he is 69th on my board right now.
Nice.
And nice. Yeah, you had to do that.
I'm 34 years old.
I am 35. Yeah. So that lets you know that you're okay. You got a whole nother year at least of being able to say that. But in all seriousness, he's 69th on my board. Nice. I think that he has a real shot of being in the NBA. And again, super smart pick, dude. I'm jealous.
All right. Who are you going with? You got 2 and 3 now back to back. So you get a chance to really kind of make some things happen, make some things fit, make some interesting choices.
I do. So my first pick is a guy that that is near and dear to my heart. I actually just got a text from somebody within our No Ceilings family that says that he has seen the light on this player. Mavs Draft, Rich said, I have seen the light on Jamil Telfort, which makes me happy
Yeah,
because he's going to be my top pick. 16 points per game, 5 boards, over 3 assists, a steal, shot 47% from the floor, 36% from deep. Great improvement in that regard. 77% from the free throw line. 2.2 turnovers per game and only 2 fouls per game. And this dude is like a defensive ace. I really love his game. But if you look at the offense, that's where he's grown the most. You know, Butler used him in a lot of sets where he's initiating. And so what we see, Maxwell, we talk about this all the time. The best role players in the NBA were the stars and were the setup guys and were the people who could initiate on the offensive side. I think that because Jamil has grown in his 2 seasons at Butler, he's really primed to be a really good rotational player in the NBA. 73rd percentile in total offense, 75th in pick and roll scoring, 82nd in handoffs, 93rd on spot ups, 58th in isolation, rebounds well. He's got an assist percentage over 20 and a 1.5 assist to turnover ratio. Shot 38% from threes off of the catch. His shortcomings and his percentages came when he was trying to do more with the ball in his hands, which I respect because he's trying to develop, but that's going to scale down in the NBA. So what you're looking at offensively is a reliable floor spacer that can move the ball. He's got really strong hands, great decision maker. Defensively, that's going to be his calling card. If you look at the block and the assist percentages, they're among some of the best that you're going to see in this field. I think that what he brings me is what I looked for last year when I drafted Jalen Williams and Isaiah Crawford. He kind of gives me that same mold of a player where I got a dog on the wing who can scale up, maybe even in this field, like 1 through 4, maybe 1 through 5, even in this Portsmouth field, in all honesty. I just love his defensive versatility. I love the decision making, and I love that he's going to convert from deep. Maxwell, Jamil Telfort, my number 1 pick.
Yeah, so Telfort's a really interesting guy. He's a guy that we've talked about between the two of us for a while now. I thought he was really interesting at Butler last year too. With Telfort, I think you were spot on, and like what I wrote in the preview, which will be out Wednesday this week. No Monday com for me because we have to, got to drop the Portsmouth preview. That's is right. like you mentioned, it's a high usage guy who was good at the rim, really good on floaters, really good on mid-range shots, draws a ton of fouls, makes great decisions, 6'7", 225, strong and skilled, and made 39.1% of his catch and shoot threes. Some underwhelming defensive production numbers, but he guards the ball fine. So I think it's one of those things where you just got to bet that when he doesn't have to do all this stuff on offense, but he can take on more than he, will likely be asked to, the fact that he could scale up in certain settings. If a team runs him off the line and makes him make a decision, he's not going to crap his pants. But the fact that he's also really good off the catch, very physical, very tough. It's a really intriguing scale down bet. I worry just about the run jump athleticism stuff with him.
Sure.
But overall, I can't knock it. This is what we have learned about what works on the margins is guys that can scale down that are big, strong, and smart. And that's Jamil Telfort.
Yeah, and I think the strength is what's going to make up for that lack of vertical athleticism. He's a 0 dunks guy, which is usually a pretty significant red flag. That's what the tape's for. I feel like you watch the tape, those concerns about the dunk numbers kind of dwindle down pretty significantly, at least in my opinion, Maxwell. I mentioned that I had Victor 69th nice on my big board. I have Jamil right behind him at 70. So again, this Portsmouth field is quite loaded.
All right. Well, let's do a break and then we'll do our next 2 picks each. So stick with us. We'll be right back on the other side. All right, Stephen, you are back on the clock with your second pick in this year's Sicko Bowl. Who are you going with next to Jamil Telfort?
Okay, Maxwell, you broke my heart. Just to start the night, I'm going to break your heart now.
Okay.
Actually, do I want to? Because I'm about to give it to you. Actually, I'm way nicer to you than you are to me.
Yes,
I'm going to move on. I'm going to give you your guy. That gives me a chance to talk about a guy that has quietly got a lot of buzz within the No Ceilings conversation a lot recently.
Yeah.
Cameron Matthews.
Oh, okay.
State.
Man, I wanted him. I wanted him so bad. Okay.
You're gonna have to settle for the best guy on your board. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, I was
Next turn.
hoping to get him and my other guy, but what can you do?
I got you. So again, in keeping, I have a type. It's a real problem I have. I like dogs. I'm a big dog fan. Get these cats out of here. Cam Matthews from Mississippi State. He's a forward who, right now, the measurements that I have are 6'7", 235 pounds. I'm interested to see what I get when I go up to Portsmouth. 7 points per game, 7 rebounds per game, over 3.5 assists, almost 2.5 steals, almost 1 block, 51% from the floor, only 24% from deep, only 53% from the line, almost 2.5 turnovers per game, and just under 3 fouls per game. Maxwell, Cameron Matthews, to me, when I look at a gadget player in the NBA that works, they may not be the best shooter. They may not be the tallest guy, but they all have similar traits. There's a motor that just doesn't stop. There's a physical prowess that they have, and there's an innate feel for the game. And that's exactly what I think Cameron Matthews has. I have him 83rd on my board right now. I'm not ruling out him creeping up. Dude is an absolute unit. He is not going to be a good shooter, and he hasn't really shown signs that he's going to be one, especially at this age. But he does so many other things well. Offensively, he's in the 73rd percentile in cutting. He's in the 44th percentile in putbacks, which for his position is pretty freaking amazing. He has a 5.8 BPM despite the shooting inefficiencies that he has. If you want to, for the calculator rats out there, he is still an effective player. Great rebounder, better rebounding numbers than what you're going to see from some big men. 8.5 offensive rebound percentage, 16.7 defensive rebound percentage. He's got a 20 assist percentage with a 1.5 assist to turnover ratio. Led his team, Maxwell, in assists, 121 assists on Mississippi State. And there are some pretty dynamic guards on that team. If you want to look at defensive numbers, you have 105 stocks on the year to only 94 fouls committed. My man is an animal on both sides of the floor. I'm interested to see what his measurables are, because for this type of player to work, you have to have a pterodactyl wingspan, and you got to be able to jump out of the gym. I'm willing to bet that my man Cameron Matthews can do that.
Yeah, Matthews rocks. Like he's really interesting. I think you made a great case. I think if you he's not going to be the most fit, malleable guy. Like he is a guy who is 6'7" and just has not really shown a willingness to shoot, but he is so good at the stuff that he's good at. Like impressive on the go decision making, and an offense that isn't like super beautiful or anything either. Like it's one of those guys where it's like you wonder if you put him in a more free flowing system, how much better the passing might look. But yeah, I always talk about like smart, strength, skill, size, savvy, and shooting. And like the shooting's not there, but the other 4 are, and you add in just a ridiculous level of defensive versatility and consistently obscene output in terms of steals and blocks, but also not like a gambling dependent guy, like a guy that can just really beat you up guarding the ball. Like I love Cameron Matthews. I understand that, like, for the most part, when you were looking at an NBA player that's going to be a role guy, it's like, can he shoot? And the answer here is probably not. No. But if you told me that you've got a guy that's this height that can't shoot, I would want them to look exactly like Cameron Matthews. And I'm really, really intrigued.
There's a lot of NBA teams from what we've gathered so far intel wise. And again, I can't wait to get to Portsmouth and talk to some folks up there. But there are already buzzings of Cameron Matthews having some NBA interest, even if it's just at like a basic level, like Exhibit 10, G League, whatever. All a cat like this needs to do is have a foot in the door, and it sounds like he's going to get one. Yeah.
I am going to take, no surprise here, the top ranked guy on my board, Max Shulga. Shulga's another, I'm really loading up on the No Stone guys. I might take another one with my next pick. We'll see. Shulga is really fascinating. So he is a 6'4", like bulky combo guard who is probably going to be more in that like Sam Merrill type role at the next level, where it's like guard size, but really not your lead initiator. He still can make decisions. Like he is still a reliable guy who moves the ball, good assist to turnover ratios every year. What I think is most impressive is, again, this is a guy with a really great trajectory. If you look at his turnover rates, those went down every year. His handle when I did him for no zone was like quite bad. Like he really turned the ball over pretty much any time he was net with an aggressive coverage out of a ball screen. Like it was just something he had a really difficult time with. And he's really tightened that up. He's done a much better job on that front. Good rebounder for a guard, even on the offensive glass. He's a really physical player. Like he's always finished pretty well, even though he can't jump. But an offensive rebound rate of 6, which is super high, free throw rate over 50, like just always bouncing into dudes, drawing contact. And he's an excellent free throw shooter, 82% from the free throw line for his college career. Can move the ball, connect the dots, etc. Defensively, I thought last year he took a really big step forward in terms of his lateral agility. And then this year, he was just all over the ball. Had a 3.2 steal rate, which he'd had that before at Utah State, but it was when he was like not really playing a lot of minutes. So it's like, is this real? But for this year, for him to have, a bigger workload, be the star player of this VCU team, and then post a steal rate like that, I thought was really interesting. So I think there's a really great mix of, well, we got to talk about the shooting as well. The shooting's a big thing. Just under 9 threes per 100 possessions, 39.2% from deep over his career. Great shot diet in terms of projectability, totally unfazed by closeouts, deep range, can pull up with it. Like every three that an NBA player has to be able to take is a three that Max Shulga can hit. So we've got on-ball value with like solid decision-making, really improved handle. We've got the off-ball value in terms of the floor spacing, the offensive rebounding, the willingness to attack off the catch and draw fouls. And then defensively, like really high steal rate guard who's got some bulk on him and can body up, won't get swallowed alive by bigger players, even if you might be a little behind the curve in terms of athleticism. I just think Shulga is a really good bet to like carve out a longer and more successful career than you might think at first glance.
Yeah, and you talked about the on-ball, off-ball stuff. What really struck me when I was digging into my research, seeing him on film, and I just want to kind of correlate numbers to what I see, and it checked out. I mean, if you look at the scoring, 23.5% of his time, he scored out of spot-ups, and 23.5% of the time, he scored out of the pick and roll. Obviously, he's got more pick and roll reps because he has grown into such a trustworthy ball handler, but just that scoring versatility, I love that, right? Not going to be a guy long-term that you're going to want to give shots off the bounce, but I feel like he's got the size and the improvement on the defensive end to where he could probably just be like a 3-and-D off-guard floor spacer for whoever the offensive hub is going to be at the next level. Great pick, dude. I have him 73rd on my board right now. Not only do I have him there, but I have him over some names like Milo Suzanne, who is getting a lot of draft buzz right now.
Yeah.
I kind of like Max Shulga a little bit more than a guy like Milos right now, who is a better shooter, but I think Shulga is better at everything else.
Yeah. Well, and I think Shulga might be the better shooter too. Like we're coming off, a good shooting year for Uzan, but like volume wise, difficulty, etc. Like I think there's a real case to be made for Shulga there.
That's a fair point.
I'm back on the clock with the fifth pick overall, third pick for my team. So far I've got Victor Locken and Max Shulga. I want to keep the ball movement going because I mentioned like Shulga can do quite a bit off the ball. I am going to take a guy that I can't quit who like sort of flies in the face of a lot of the stuff that I preach. I'm going to take Kobe Johnson here.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Good.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
I am like the one guy still on Kobe Johnson Island. I feel
his numbers are good.
His numbers are good. So Kobe Johnson is the brother of Jalen Johnson. He is 6'5". He's like a little bit slight. He's probably just a 2 guard, which is always a little bit dangerous, just based on how I would guess he's going to measure. Really, really productive defender. Over his college career, a steal rate of 4, a block rate of 1.9. Good rebounder for a guard too. Had an 18.4 defensive rebounding rate and a 7.5 offensive rebound rate. But really the defense is like the main sell. Like he flies all over the floor, really good into passing lanes, great instincts to help at the rim, and like does a surprisingly better job of staying vertical contesting around the basket than you would expect out of a guy like with his kind of frame and build. So I like that about him a lot. The other thing I like about him is it just seems like the rotational speed, the instincts, and that sort of scrappiness is a winning combination. And then offensively, Smart player. The reason I brought up the playmaking is because Kobe Johnson's routinely had really high assist rates throughout his career. Had 18.1 career assist rate. Sees the floor really well on the go and very decisive off the catch. Like, he's not the most willing shooter, and now this guy's a better athlete than he is. The guy he's always sort of fleetingly reminded me of offensively is Christian Brown, where it's like he catches the ball, he knows what he's going to do, and he's got a quick enough first step that even though like he's not quite the shooter that you want him to be, he's able to get downhill and make the right play for his team. Again, he's not the athlete Christian Brown is, which I think makes it a little bit dicier of a translation. There's a reason that he's playing at Portsmouth and not like a guy in Christian Brown's case who like stunned everybody when he decided to play at the NBA Combine, right? The question here, there's two main questions. The first is the shot, which I put in the article. His percentages have resulted from uh-oh to that's pretty good from 3 every single year on like not the best volume. So like, can he shoot? I don't quite know. Over the course of his career, 6.3 attempts per 100 possessions from 3, 33.9%, 77-ish% at the free throw line. Like, kind of needs the shot far more to make an impact than a guy like Cameron Matthews does because of that size disparity that we discussed. The other thing is like the usage case. Like I beat usage like a drum, and this is a guy who had a 15 usage rate and scored 8 points per game this year, right? So it's like generally the guys that we want to scale up that did it in smaller roles haven't really had success. I'm going to like pin a little bit of that on just the teams he's been on and UCLA being a disaster this year. And hope that the rest works out. Because I think all in all, like he is just really smart. He really knows how to play. He's a winner. He makes things happen. Like he's got the bloodline thing. Yeah, I trust Kobe Johnson. And I think if he can give me a little extra playmaking juice alongside 2 other plus playmakers, make some stuff happen on defense. Like I always just want to know, like, what is your thing? And with Kobe Johnson, the thing is defense. He has a thing. The question is just, can he be a good enough complementary offensive player, which I think he can, and I at least trust him to make decisions. So Kobe Johnson is the third guy for my team here.
I like that pick because of, obviously you got the two-way ability. The defense is there with a guy like Kobe. The rebounding is there with a guy like Kobe. And the ancillary playmaking to go off of a guy like Shoga, who we just talked about, probably not going to be like a primary guy moving forward, but does enough. So you have that ancillary passing in there with the improvements from Victor Locken, for the consistency that we've always kind of seen from a guy like Kobe. I think that makes a lot of sense. Truth be told, man, like I have to give him some more dedicated look because he's just not a guy that I have given much thought of being a this year guy, or I would say like
just fell off the radar. Like he was a hot name 2 years ago.
And I think that there's something to that. That might be a piece that I might be working on, is like the 2 years after everyone fell in love with you, because this draft is just full of guys like that this year. And speaking of which, my next pick is a guy who you look him up, and I know that you saw this too because you put the piece together. A guy who a couple of years ago was a surefire lottery talent recruit for Florida State, goes to Miami and just kind of quietly, just consistently is pretty good, but doesn't really ever get discussed, is Matthew Cleveland. The wing / forward, 6'7", 210 pounds, put up almost 18 points per game, 4 boards, almost 2 assists, about a steal and a block per game, shot 51% from the floor, 38% from deep, 78% from the line, only had 1.3 turnovers per game and only 1.3 fouls per game. Maxwell, when I prepare for the show, I was like, what the heck? Because he's 89th percentile in spot ups, 84th as a pick and roll ball handler. And you would look at a guy like Matthew Cleveland and be like, okay, that's ridiculous as a scorer. That's got to drop down when you include passes, right? Nope. That jumps to the 91st percentile once you include passes. He's in the 89th percentile in isolation, 65th on cuts. His lowest play type on synergy is handoffs, and it's 58th percentile, which still grades out as good. Like Locken, Cleveland doesn't have a single red area on a Bartorvik query. 60% true shooting percentage, 3.7 offensive rebounding percentage, 14.7 defensive rebounding percentage, which isn't like world beater, but that's like entry-level NBA rebounding numbers, right, for like a wing forward to ultimately find success in the NBA. 26% usage with only a 9.8 turnover percentage. He made all 28 of his dunks, a 39.9 free throw percentage, 3.1 block percentage, and a 1.5 steal percentage. When I look at Matthew Cleveland, he's got NBA size. He can shoot from deep. He plays defense. He can string a play along offensively. I feel like this is just utter negligence on my part, who I've had him at 88. Like, I've kept tabs on him. But giving this dedicated look, I'm like, where am I messing up and where is everybody else messing up? Because he didn't even rank in the top 75 stock update that Corey did. And I feel like if I have a player at 88, like, other people have to like this guy, right? Like, it's just, he's not showing up anywhere. I feel like this dude is probably the best kept secret for a lot of NBA draft teams right now.
I am like, yeah. So when he was in the field, I'm going to be honest. Like, I did not watch much Miami this year. There was
no reason to. Bethea wasn't good, you know? Like, that was a draft guy.
And then you look at Cleveland's numbers, and it's like, I get that the team stunk, but he had a 27.3 usage rate and a 60% true shooting. So it's like, for as bad as the context was, it seemed like it didn't bother him at all.
With under 10% turnover percentage.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, super low turnover rate. Like, assist rate is fine for a forward. Not the best rebounder.
Okay,
like,
yeah.
I think there's some concern about like the scalability, because like, when I wrote about him before the year, my thing was always just like, good defensive playmaker, not a great one. Like, okay shooter, not a great one. He had his threes this year on like good volume for a forward. It's like, how much do you trust it? Like, can that be pared back?
It was a decent percentage in usage last year too. Yeah, 28 dunks, all 28 dunks.
Like, that's the thing where it's just like, are we sleeping on this guy because Miami was trash? Or like, is there something that the numbers don't pick up that like actually he wasn't good? I truly did not watch enough Miami. And like, we're doing a Portsmouth mock draft. I know how much film I watched. I watched a lot of film this year. I truly can't speak to it. And I feel like he's the guy that when I saw his name announced, I looked at those numbers and I was like, man, did I just miss out on something with this guy?
You can't be this good on accident, right? And he was supposed to be this good once upon a time. Yes. And again, we're touching on the 2 years away from actualizing potential. We talked about Milos Uzan being a guy that people loved you interviewed him, and now he's a draft guy. Ryan Kalkbrenner was supposed to be a draft lottery dude, and he's probably teetering on first round consideration right now. If it's possible, Maxwell, that up until I would want to say about 3 weeks ago that I was starting to get Elijah Martin like affirmation with just like, okay, like you can only watch so many people. Someone's going to suffer.
Yeah.
I felt like it had been Elijah. Now that people are recognizing Elijah, I feel like we need to draw more attention to Matthew Cleveland, because this is an NBA player staring at us in the face, and he's playing in Portsmouth this year. So
yeah,
I'm pairing him with Jamil Telfort, and so I have Matthews, right? And now I have Matthew Cleveland. So I have my guys there. I have my 2 through 4.
Yep.
You took the best center in the class, so I feel like I can get my center later. I feel like I need a point guard to compete. I'm going to go with Sean Padula.
Yeah, my guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I got to go with your guy. I gave you your one guy. I'm taking this one. Mississippi guard, 6'1", listed. We'll see. 195 pounds, 15 points per game, 3.5 rebounds per game, almost 4 assists, almost 2 steals, 44% from the floor, which isn't great, but most of that came off of threes, which he shot 39%, 82.5 from the free throw line, only 2 turnovers per game, and 2.6 fouls per game. When you were talking about earlier, your setup for like he spits in the face of everything that you kind of like talk to, I know that you feel the same way with Sean Padula, because you're not a small guard guy. But if you look, he shot over 39% from deep on almost 11 threes per 100. Like, that's his calling card. 87th% on catch and shoots, on about 41% from deep on catch and shoots. 33.8% on dribble jumpers from deep, which still ranked in the 75th percentile. He was in the 96th percentile overall on spot ups. And still, even though this number isn't like a great number, he shot 46% at the rim. For his height, I feel like that's respectable. He's got a lot of craft.
Not good, but it's fine for that size. Yeah.
You got the both hand stuff. He's kind of like a tough, smaller guy. He scored in the 60th percentile out of pick and rolls. That fell a little bit to the 52nd, including passes. His passing isn't great. So him being my initiator guy is kind of like, this is just going to be like a passing by committee. That's why I like Telfort, because he's grown as a playmaker. Matthews is a good playmaker. He led his team assist out of that 4 spot. Padula can space the floor, run some pick and roll actions with my forwards, kick the ball out to a Matthew Cleveland for a 3. I have enough floor spacing, and I got a guy who can stir the drink a little bit. He's going to give me a little problems on the defensive end, not going to lie. But I'm overall happy with him, man, because he's so shifty. He's so smart. He's brave. He hits tough shots really, really well. And in a Portsmouth Invitational type environment, you need a guard like Padula to kind of bring the team along whenever shots aren't falling for everybody else.
Yeah, I'm good with the Padula pick of the guard crop. Other than Shulga, he was the next highest rated guy. And then we'll talk about some of the other ones. There's another one that I think Sneaky might have a big weekend.
Okay.
But yeah, I like Padula a lot. If you're a small guard, I feel like him, and then I would throw out Chucky Hepburn too as like the other smaller guy, where it's like, sure, if you're going to be undersized, like you were checking all the boxes in terms of like frame, decision making, motor, feel, like all that stuff is there. And like both those guys, kind of same issues, like inconsistent finishers throughout the course of the year. Hepburn has been an inconsistent shooter, but also like led a really great offense with not much help this year. Like if you're going to be a small guard, there's a lot of stuff you got to do. And those guys I feel like are the closest to checking those boxes.
Yep. So that puts me at 4. So at point, I got Sean Padula, who I just picked. At the 2, I'm going to say Matthew Cleveland is my 2. At the 3, I got Jamel Telfort. And at the 4, I got Cam Matthews. So my next pick, I got to go with a big man and a 6 man. And you got 3 players right now going into picks 4 and 5, right?
Yep. Yeah. So we're going to take a quick break and we will be back with the remaining picks. Stick with us. All right. So this next one, I'm going to actually take these guys in sort of like inverse order of where I would rank them. So just a heads up there.
Okay.
Let's do David Joplin from Marquette.
Okay.
This next pick. So Joplin is like a tricky nut to crack. And that I feel like he is like the 3-and-D framework is here. Like he is 6'7". He's got this great frame. He's like 225-ish pounds, really strong, really good on the ball defensively. And then off the ball too, like total menace. Like he's a Marquette player. So, he's getting those deflections, potent rim helper, like can kind of just guard anybody and makes things happen off the ball a lot. Solid rebounder. Not the best shooter in terms of efficiency. So a 32.3% shooter from 3 this year, 35% for his career, which again, for like a forward is actually solid. But boy, does he take a lot of threes, 12.6 for 100 possessions. And this year, his percentage was dragged down. He had to take 71 dribble jumpers from 3 this year. Like he sort of defaulted into being the bailout shot maker at times for Marquette this season. But if you go through the years and like you look at his catch and shoot numbers, they're always really respectable. And he's always taking a ton of them. So with David Joplin, I feel like the idea is here's a guy that could potentially do the 2 most important things on a basketball court. He can catch and shoot threes. He is not going to be afraid to shoot those threes. He is up to the task in terms of athleticism and physicality, and he's going to make stuff happen on defense. Where this is a dicey proposition is I think he is like a downright bad decision maker. Assist to turnover ratio is a woeful 1.3 to 1.9. And then I think like the shot selection comes into play with that too, like just forces a lot of overly tough looks. But again, we're talking about guys scaling down. I think what you hope for is that when he's in a role where it is a little bit more simplified. And again, he didn't have the biggest role at Marquette. That's what Cam Jones was for. I think the idea is like, here's a guy who, if you threw him onto an NBA court tomorrow, he's not going to physically embarrass himself. He's going to be able to live up to the bargain on defense. And you know that he plays for a coach who demands a high standard of quality on defense. And he's going to shoot the ball from three if he gets it and he's open. So it's not the sexiest pitch in the world. I get that. But I wonder if you can almost just like fine tune the decision making and all of a sudden just have a guy that's on rosters for a really long time. But like, I will not like cover up the fact like the passing numbers from assist rate to assist turnover ratio are just like red flags across the board.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's always been kind of like the fly in the ointment for Joplin is that, one, the three-point shooting, the volume is great, but the efficiency, even beyond this year, like okay to respectable, I would say is what it's been. I feel like kind of weirdly over time, it's kind of like dipped down a little bit.
Sophomore year was the year he was like almost 40%. I think he was like in the 40s for a big stretch that year.
Yeah, and that's when a lot of people really started kind of keying in on Joplin, and he's kind of maintained that, you know, some level of attention. I've kind of always weirdly liked the defense. I think that he's defended really well in the Big East over the past several years, and I think he brings a lot of value there. But moving the ball around, that's going to be like the development story for him as he moves forward, whether that's G League, whether that's Europe, it doesn't matter. Like he's going to just more reps doing it because it's going to be demanded of him. But you do like the onions on the guy, right? Like he is not afraid to take difficult shots, and it hasn't mattered what the makeup of his team has been, no matter who the stars on his team has been. And there's been quite a few playing for Marquette while he's been there. I think it's a fine pick, dude.
Yeah, awesome. And then for the last one, I'm going to go with one more kind of connector shooter, and I'm going to take Igor Milicic Jr. That's my guy. Always been a fan. 6'10", didn't shoot the ball great this year, but over the course of his college career, at 6'10", took 9.4 threes per 100 possessions and just under 35%. And a lot of that stuff is off of movement. Like has long been used as a movement shooter at 6'10", which is something that's really hard to find. He's always been a great rebounder as well. Like defensive rebound rate, 22.5 for his college career, which is phenomenal for a forward. And this year he got to crash the offensive glass more. He had a 9.1 offensive rebound rate, despite the fact that he was on the perimeter a lot of the times. For the last 3 years, like the 3 seasons he actually played college basketball, he shot over 60% on his twos, like reliable as a roll man, really good touch inside, very good attacking closeouts. Like the basic stuff that you want from an NBA role player is there, and a really good assist rate too. 15 assist rate this year. Also cut his turnovers. If you watched him at Charlotte coming into this year, he had a tendency to just like get way too cute with it as a passer, like a lot of fancy deliveries through windows that weren't really there, kind of a thing. This year, I feel like he really shored that up playing at Tennessee. Like, I think he kind of knew, like, I'm at the highest level now. I can't be messing around with that sort of stuff. And then defensively, like, he's just a long, fluid guy who knows where to be. Career block rate of 3.6, career steal rate of 1.7, both solid marks for a forward prospect. And then I think what we're looking at here is we've got a forward who can hold his own defensively against a couple different positions. He's proven to be much more of a reliable and impressive passer than I think a lot of guys in the field. He's a really willing shooter with solid results off of a very tough shot diet, a much tougher one from three than a lot of other guys in the field have had to take. He's excellent inside the arc, and he's a good rebounder. So I think Igor is like a guy that, I was a little underwhelmed this year. Earlier on in the year, felt like he was gun shy from three. He never quite got his three ball falling to the degree that I felt like, you wanted to see. I get those hangups. I just have a hard time looking at a guy with this level of like size and feel and production across the board and not wanting him on a two-way contract. So that's why I'm taking Igor here. So to fill out my starting five, it's Max Shulga. It is Kobe Johnson, David Joplin, Igor Milicic, and Victor Locken.
That is a beefy lineup. That's just huge, like across the board positionally. I love it. So I am up with my fifth and sixth pick. Getting Victor Locken was the cheat code, right? Like whoever got locked in there's a huge step down, especially when we found out that Bent Lucian wasn't going to be there. Mm-hmm. Like he was really like the size that was going to be able to compete with the
Yep.
efficiency and production. For my 5,
Wait, no, you're right. You're right. Yeah, I think did our order get messed up somewhere? I don't know.
I don't think so.
Okay, we're good.
Because we're picking.
No, you're right. You're
yeah.
right. Because I would be 4-5. You're 5-6. You're right. You're right.
Yep. So my big man, I understand that there's going to be a size deficit, but this dude is tough as all get out. He averaged 13 points per game, 9 boards, 1.3 assists, 1.5 blocks, over 1 steal, shot 50% from the floor, didn't shoot from deep. That's okay. I don't need him to on this team. 73% from the line, only 1.5 turnovers, and only 2.6 fouls per game, playing big minutes for the Crab 5. I'm going to go with Julian Reese. I'm going to get Julian at the 5. Now he's only listed at 6'9". That might not even be accurate, but around 250 pounds. This is a tough dude. And I've always liked Julian. He's just never really stood out in like a significant enough way for me to have like real draft consideration on him. But if you look, he's in the 88th percentile on total offense, 61st percentile as the roll man, 75th on putbacks, 73rd on post-ups. He rebounds the crap out of the ball, 12.2 offensive rebound percentage, 23.8 defensive rebound percentage. Very versatile defender. I feel like having him, he's going to allow me to switch a lot, even do some show and recover type stuff. 5.6 block percentage, 2.2 steals percentage. The strength that he has allows him to draw contacts, Maxwell. He's had 21 and ones on the year and a 53 free throw rate. I love the switchability. 95 stalks on only 92 fouls committed. Also drew 145 fouls. So I feel like he's going to be the guy that if I want someone to bang with Victor in the middle, I want someone who's going to be able to finish and who's going to get a lot of just like garbage cleaned up for my team. I think Julian Reese is the best that I can do with the field that I have available. And I actually kind of like the fit with the overall feel for my team.
Yeah, Julian Reese was a guy that really like, I don't want to say I was like sour on, but I didn't really like get it his freshman year. Like I felt like there was some buzz about him. I'm like, it's kind of like an undersized center. And I feel like he's done a way better job of like filling the holes in his game than people realize, because he was like never a super prominent name in the draft space, but like he is night and day better than he was as a freshman. Like you said, like he's not the biggest dude, and that's always going to be kind of used against him to a degree. But boy, does he cover ground. Like he plays hard. He is a high motor player. And that really stood out to me when I saw him in person against Northwestern. It's like he is just all over the court. Like you said, potent on the glass, really good shot blocker, totally capable of holding his own on an island, tough as nails at the rim. I think his feel got way better. Like I know these assist numbers aren't crazy, but he reduced his turnover rate every year. And like, it just felt like he really figured out how to play basketball like over the years. And I wonder if Derek Queen wasn't on this Maryland team, how high that assist rate could have gone, because he made a couple passes in that Northwestern game that I saw where I was like, that is not something I would have expected to see from Julian Reese 3 years ago. Like he's got some real feel and to him that I think is a nice compliment to this sort of athletic rim runner, switchable, high motor rebounder kind of game. So I think Julian Reese is a guy that is going to be a little buzzier throughout pre-draft than people might anticipate.
Yeah, and if you listen to the commentary on that, March Madness, matchup that you just brought up, Julian Reese was a guy that has been in big time games, and coach said that he's going to be the guy that we lean on. Like this is the guy that we're going to until you all get more comfortable out there. Put the ball in Julian's hands, and he took them he, along with the rest of the Crab Five, like made it really far. But Reese was the vet on that team, and he was the grown up in the room. And it, like you said, he's got innate feel. We're contractually obligated to mention that he's Angel Reese's brother.
Yep, got to do it.
We got to do that. So there's cool points there.
Mm-hmm.
I feel good about him having him at my 5. So my starting 5: Sean Padula, Matthew Cleveland, Jamil Telfort, Cameron Matthews. Now I got my man Julian Reese at the 5. To go with my 6th man, I feel like I have to kind of mix it up a little bit. I got to bring
let's get fun with it. Yeah,
I gotta bring in someone who can do a little bit different stuff, give me a different look. This guy isn't the best defender in the world. He's not the strongest or most athletic guy, but my man is a walking flamethrower. Give me John Poulikitis from Yale. My
Okay.
6'6" wing, 205 pounds, shot almost 41% from three on 14.4 attempts per 100 and ranked in the 100th. Is that good? The 100th percentile on spot ups. He was in the 89th percentile on catch and shoot looks. He was in the 77th percentile on pick and roll scoring. He was in the 80th percentile on dribble jumpers, the 91st on handoffs. He's a connective passer, so when I bring him in, he can kind of string the play along. He won't force bad looks. He only had 5.9. He only had a 5.9 turnover percentage. Now that's only married with the 7.2 assist percentage, but overall 1.7 assist to turnover ratio. 0 dunks on the year, very low rebounding numbers, low defensive events force. Not a guy that I'm bringing in to be a defensive stalwart, but my man is just an absolute strap, and he's got good size. He can play either wing position for me, and I trust him to make good decisions with the ball. John Polikitis out of Yale. Give him to me coming in off the bench.
I like it. I'm also kind of going the flamethrower route for my 6-man pick. I'm going to go with Wooga Poplar out of Villanova.
Okay.
Who, when they first started to announce the field, before I think we realized how good it was going to be, I was like, Wooga Poplar might have a big week. And now I'm like a little less convinced of that, just because I think it's a much more athletic field than we normally get at Portsmouth. But he's a bucket, man. Like high usage rate, 25.4 usage. Can really just get his own shot a lot of places on the court. Comfortable pulling up from three. Career high volume 3-point shooter. 38.5% last year, 38.7% this year. Creates a space for himself well in the mid-range. Does a nice job of finishing above the rim, at the basket. Really great catch and shoot 3-point numbers too, like 43.2% off the catch. Again, kind of like David Joplin, decision-making has like long been something that you'd want to be better. Had a positive assist turnover ratio his last 2 years at Miami. That slipped back into the negative this year at Villanova. Doesn't always look to see the floor, like kind of a tunnel vision guy. Defensively, he's sort of inconsistent. Like I feel like when he is bought into guarding the ball, like when it's a personal, like one-on-one thing, I feel like he does fine. But when it's a team construct, he can kind of come and go a little bit. I always felt like he was one of the more over-anxious helpers, where it was like he was like just kind of like really looking for opportunities to gamble and steal the ball and things like that at times. But hey, I appreciate the want to. And then this year, I thought he was just like overall motor and attention to detail was a little bit better. And he was a really great rebounder this year because Eric Dixon doesn't rebound. And Wooga Poplar was like, I'm going to be the guy that rebounds on this Villanova team. So I get it. Rough around the edges in terms of like not a great decision maker. The defense can come and go. But I see a guy who's, athletically up to NBA standards, a guy who can really shoot, and a guy who can at least stay in front of guys. And I just have to wonder, like, again, if this guy is put into a role where it's a lot more, hey, just catch and shoot, just rebound, just hustle. I think there's a good chance he can do those things. So I'm going to go with Wooga Poplar for my 6-man.
It wasn't too long ago, Maxwell, that there was a big push from the IWC of draft Twitter that thought that he was like a top 25 guy.
Draft first round after that Final Four run at Miami was like a pretty common take.
Yeah, 100%. And then if you looked at, the preseason big boards and stuff like that, was a pretty prominent name that was featured a lot. So we're just full of these like couple years away from when they were supposed to be something, guys that are really just kind of putting themselves together like a last ditch effort at a resume. I like him. I think that he does complement your team really well. 3-and-D wing with a little bit of guard skill. I think can't go wrong with a player like that. It's a good get.
For sure. So let's talk about some of the guys that we considered, and then also talk about some of the guys that aren't in the field that we maybe would have liked to have seen in there. Do you want to go by position group just to keep it simple?
We can do that.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
So for bigs, the other guys I thought about, one was Umar Ballo, who like Indiana fans can't stand. And like, I get it. Like the motor is like a huge concern, But you look at the advanced numbers and it's like, man, this guy is really big. He blocks shots, he rebounds, he can make decisions. Like, I too would be scared, like taking a chance on a guy who just like straight up does not show up some games and like has a hard time getting up and down the floor. But I can't, like, he's another guy. It's like, I can't quite quit Umar Ballo. Like, the advanced numbers case is really strong.
I liked him quite a bit when
yeah.
he was coming out of Arizona, man.
I did
like
too.
I thought that, like, okay, this is a big guy who can set good screens, who can rebound, who moves surprisingly well for how big he is.
Yeah.
And showed like some really good touch on the inside. Like, just some nice finishing counter stuff. A big that I got two bigs that I was like, do I want to bring them up like as draft or do I save them for the end? I've always kind of been like a Caden Shedrick guy. Even coming out of Virginia, super bouncy, rail thin though. So like, that's your concern is like, do you want a John Henson on your team? Like, I think that's like the high end outcome. And I really, you trust the shot blocking has always been there. He's always been a pretty consistent rebounder. He's experimented with shooting that just hasn't like really ever developed. And he doesn't have like sound passing, but if you just want like a rim running guy who's just like an instant lob threat who can block shots and get you a couple hustle plays, like that's Caden Shedrick. And then I think Zach Freemantle was another guy that I've always kind of been interested in, but he gets hurt so often.
Yeah.
And he's
like older and I
think he's our age, roughly.
Yeah. 24.7 on Zach Freemantle.
Zach Freemantle Jr. was, where is he declared for college?
He hasn't committed yet. So the other bigs I looked at, Mitchell Saxon and Juwan Roberts, both guys that like are just kind of everywhere on defense. Saxon is bigger, so I kind of just leaned toward him because like he is actual NBA center size. Both of them just like don't really put the ball in the basket well enough because like they're not true lob targets given their like vertical athleticism and physical profiles. But guys that like really know how to play basketball and play good defense. Juwan Roberts, I guess, another guy where it's like, I know what the stats say, but he's just a winner. Like, he's a smart, hard charging player, lunch pail guy. I love him. And then like Daniel Batcho is another guy where it's like, he's really good at the two most important things, which are finishing and shot blocking, but he's like the Victor Locken 2 years ago, never passes kind of guy. So
he was one of those, like, depending on how like deep of a hole in smart guy Twitter you get on, like there was a moment in time where Bacho was another one of these like, long-term plays. Yeah. He was a popular dude that just didn't pan out. Louisiana Tech, that was fun teams, man.
Yeah. Wing wise, who else were you kind of looking at?
Well, it depends on what you classify as a wing. Jamin Brakefield was a guy that I almost drafted. It was between him and Polikitis. I just figured I'd go with a walking strap, but Brakefield is wing forward size who is like the ultimate heat check guy. He's 36% from three, puts them up, not afraid of them. Moves the ball pretty well, just is okay at a lot of stuff. And in college that really works out. He's got the size. He's gonna get looks just because of the size, because his consistency from deep has been good enough just to say, hey, are we sure that this isn't a thing here? He's the guy that I really like and considered. Terrence Edwards Jr., another guy who I kind of considered as well for some similar reasons. Tamar Bates, one of the best free throw shooters in college basketball history. Played for Missouri this year.
Good movement guy, good defender.
Very good movement guy, good defender, 3-point shooter.
Yeah.
Very bouncy. Adama Ball, another guy that you got to consider for this, coming out of Santa Clara. There's so many of them, dude. Yeah. So many wings in this class that you can make a case for. Like Cleef Battle, he's 25 years old, but is a very good scorer. I don't know what you want to classify Earl Timberlake as. Played guard for Bryant, but a very good decision maker. Triple-double waiting to happen every time that he stepped on the court this year.
Yeah. Some other guys that they're out, like, not officially announced yet. St. Thomas is a guy where it's like, he just didn't shoot this year. Like not like even just percentage wise, he like didn't take threes, but big pro ready body, was really disruptive at Northern Colorado, like awesome rebounder there, very good decision maker, sees the floor really well, really good ball skills for a guy who's like 6'7" and big and strong. It's just a question of like, is the shot diet a function of like USC needed him to kind of like dribble and operate around the nail and elbow a lot, or is it just like how he wants to play? You know what I mean? Like it's just kind of one of those. But if you can convince him to just like take, catch, and shoot threes and then D up, like that's another guy I really thought long and hard about. Jemai Mashack I'll throw out there because it's like he has that's thing a good guy. One. Like he just is a really good defender, but again, like it's the usage thing where like he just doesn't
such a
ball very much. It's like I truly like with Kobe Johnson, it's like I at least see him like pass and go and do stuff. For Jemai Mashack is like I cut. It's like okay, like I truly have no idea how talented you are offensively, and I'm skeptical because they didn't seem to let you do a whole lot, but it's interesting.
And they love like, guards at Tennessee.
Yeah, Ian Shefflin was like always really productive. I guess I'll throw him in there. Like I just don't buy the defense and movement, but really great rebounder, good passer, takes threes, strong inside. And then like maybe guys I included were like Jonathan Pierre, who's like a 6'9", really good shooter who can like self-create and pass out of Belmont. He doesn't like hold up very well.
He's in the transfer portal right now, right?
Yes. Yeah. He's still on the pit mock, but like maybe that's a guy we don't end up seeing. I don't know.
Sure.
Like just does not do well inside, and like his defensive stuff is like whatever. So that's where I'm sort of like, I don't know like how all this scales to the NBA level. Cause like my big miss last year, and this was Drew Pember, where it was like, he's big and he's really skilled. And like, you see the physicality of Portsmouth and it's just like, oh, never mind. Doesn't work. So like I have that concern with him. And the other one I was throwing out, this is like, so last year we talked about Brandon Carlson, where it's like, hey, I get it. Like this guy's really old, but like, boy, can he shoot threes. The thing that Carlson had though was like he played hard on the glass and he was really bouncy. So like there was at least other stuff you could do with him. This is just a guy who is old that shoots threes and like makes okay decisions. And I don't know if anything else is there. Is there like a 5% chance that Patrick McCaffrey is like a guy that maybe like gets a cup of coffee? 2%?
Sure.
I'd sell you on 2%. Like, I don't know. Guy who's 6'9", coach's son. Like, I don't know. Maybe.
There's a 5% chance that he's on a coaching staff too somewhere next year.
True. Yeah, he might just follow net and family footsteps there. So moving on to guards. Who did you like guard wise?
Man, we're littered with guards, and it's a good thing.
Good guard crop, yeah.
Very good guard crop. Cam Carr, be remiss if we didn't talk about him. If you think of the name Cam in LSU, like he is that player. You know, he is he is a shooter. He is a guard. He is pretty twitchy, but not. He's strong. His shot is unique in a way where it's very flicky at the release, and it's a moonshot. Like it is, but it goes in. He's not the best passer in the world, but he is going to be a fun bucket. As well as another fun bucket that did just drop before we went on here, who I considered Curtis Jones, who another 3-point shooter extraordinaire, doesn't really move the ball. You know, that Iowa State team really relied on, you know, Josh Jefferson and his playmaking at the 4, really working things, as well as like Sean Gilbert being on that team. He came off the bench, was 6-man, you know, extraordinaire in college basketball. That's a guy that you got to consider guard wise there. I've always kind of liked Nolan Hickman, even his freshman year at Gonzaga. I really wanted him to be a thing. Hunter Salas ended up being the better of the two of them, and he's still kind of didn't actualize like what a fun draft class that Gonzaga class was, but still a good one position defender, has good length, has been a very good shooter over his time in college basketball. Could be like, if we're talking about 5% outcomes, like, are we sure?
Yeah.
Like, I think that he could be a guy like that. There are so many other guards too. Like we really liked Eric Reynolds coming out of St. Joe's. The 3-point shot just like is gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, is gone. Man, who are some other
So
good guards?
one guy I wanted to. So we've talked about like Chucky Hepburn a bit earlier.
Yeah.
Bez Mbeng from Yale
I knew
is a
you were going to
guy.
bring him
So
up.
he's a
Yes.
guy where it's like, okay, I don't know how much to trust the shot because he had not shot at all. He was a low volume for a 3-point guy this year. He is going to ruin some people's weekends. Like Bez
Yeah.
Mbeng is going to ruin the weekend of somebody. Like I'm telling you, if you've not watched Bez Mbeng, watch him last year against Weber State and then this year against Princeton, and like what he did to Dylan Jones last year, Savion Lee this year. Like that man is glue. He is like glue. 3.2 steal rate this year, top mark in the Ivy League. 1.5 block rate. Good defender. Like gets effort on the glass. Really smart offensive player. Obviously, he went to Yale. But like really savvy, good point guard, knows how to run an offense. It's just like, is he going to shoot well enough? The volume is below average for a guard, 36.8% from three this year, but that's the best mark of his career by a lot. Sub 70% at the free throw line. It's just like, I just don't know that the shot is enough. And I don't know that he's got like, he's 6'4", so the size is better, but it's like, I don't know that he just like moves the way like a Jose Alvarado does, or like one of those guys where it's like a defensively oriented quick guard. Like he's not as bouncy as a Craig Porter, who's like not even a guy that gets a ton of minutes. Granted, he's on one of the best teams in the league, but like I just don't know that there's enough juice to get him over the top, but I like him. Zeke Mayo is kind of like Shulga-ish. I just don't think like the defense has ever been good enough.
Very thin as well.
Yeah.
That's kind of been the thing for him. Should we talk about Jaden Akins, who has always kind of been like supposed to have always been a draft guy?
Yeah, it seems like every year a couple people would have him like top 60 and then it just doesn't happen.
Has always been solid. I just don't. He's got decent size. He's not really like the lead guard, more of the finishing guard, but doesn't have plus size. Solid defender. Like I think that he could turn some heads in this in a setting like this as well. Wade Taylor out of Texas A&M, small guard, just a maestro. Doesn't shoot or score really that well, but is a really good floor general and pretty solid defender for his size. AJ Hogard out of Vanderbilt is a guy who was teammates with Jaden Akins once upon a time, and now he played at Vanderbilt. He's a guy that I'm kind of curious to see what he looks like. Augustus Marciulionis from St. Mary's is kind of fun.
Yeah, he's really fun. Like, and I did him for No Stone. Like, he's a guy I want to like a lot. Yeah. But it's just like, I just don't know. Like, I just worry that he's going to get like killed defensively. But he shot better this year. Like he every year he gets better. He shoots a bit more. He's more assertive with the shot. He's a little tougher. Like there's progression you can point to, and he's a wizard with the ball.
Yeah, and we talked about this on the side. If Stephen Ashworth gets dunked on, I'm going to scream at the top of my lungs. That man has a family. Like I can't.
Yeah, another older guy in the field. So I think he's over 25.
He is. Yeah.
So we've got
John L. Davis.
David Ngesson is over 25. Caleb Battle's 25. Stephen Ashworth is over 25. So those are our vets in the field.
Our AARP team members for sure. But yeah, man, there's so much talent.
Chase Hunter is the guy that we should throw out because he's got a lot of fans.
Sure.
Like really good frame for like an NBA combo guard. Like he's sort of built like an NBA combo guard. He moves well, like passes the eye test. Really shot it from three this year. Had never really shot it from three prior to this. So I just don't know how much, like if he's not that, I just don't think he's there. Like, I just don't think the decision-making is great for somebody who's going to have to be a one at the NBA level.
Can I be transparent with you?
Yeah.
I feel like we've known each other long enough to where I can be honest. There's two names, and I feel like this is pretty good for me. There's two names on the mock that I'm just not super familiar with.
Yeah, and let's do that.
I got to dive in on them. Sebastian Thomas from Rhode Island. I'm not super familiar with. I'm sorry, I'm just not familiar with your game. And then Cesare Edwards out of Georgia State. I live in Georgia, and I've never even heard of this guy.
Yeah, so Sebastian Thomas I've watched. Sort of a tough-minded, like old school point guard at 6'1".
Okay.
Can't shoot, like never shot over 30% from three,
One
but
of
like
those.
plays hard. Like one of those guys that like you'll be like, oh man, like this guy's having a nice game, and then you'll just like notice that he hasn't taken a three, or like you'll like look at the career stats and but I think he'll be fine. Like he's a pro somewhere.
Okay.
Sorry, Edwards, we were talking about before the show is like, I have not watched this guy play basketball. Like I do not believe I watched a Georgia State game this year. He was at Xavier before. I have no recollection of him. I don't think I watched Missouri State last year. But like this is an interesting stat profile. So assist to turnover ratio is really bad. It's 1.3 to 2.1. But he's 6'9". He took 2 threes a game and made 43.5% of them. Good rebounder, seems to block shots. Like on paper, he's like profiles is like sort of like a versatile, like offensively versatile hybrid big maybe, and like scores a lot. I just wonder, is it like the Tristan Enaruna thing of like, maybe he comes in, he looks good, but it's like, hey, ultimately, like there was a reason that you didn't catch on when you were at like bigger programs. Like it's weird to me that even at like Missouri State, he was just like an average guy. And then suddenly he's really good. I don't know. Like I said, I've zero notes on the man. Like he's the one guy where I'm like, all right, time to cram in 3 games of his in the next day, because I'm not familiar.
Yeah. I just, that was the name that popped up that I'm like, out of the whole class, I feel like that's pretty good. You and I were talking about Ty Johnson, who was a late addition. Like,
yeah, T.Y. Johnson, UC San Diego, no, UC Davis.
Yeah. There was a little bit of buzz about him leaving from last year to this year, and his numbers, like, if we can be just perfectly honest, his numbers aren't great, but I feel like something that I told you is I feel like that this is the type of tournament, because he's kind of like a one-on-one guy. I feel like Portsmouth for guards, like you can really get by if that's your diet. And I think that he could be like the dark horse of the tournament, because he's a late addition, wasn't a primary, thought late ad. He's got the game that I think translates well to an environment like this. Even though the numbers don't really speak of it, he could be like the, whoa, who is this guy to me coming out of this group?
So someone else that one last guard, sorry, that I think is kind of in that same mold is Chance McMillian from Texas Tech, where like he was on a team with JT Toppin and Darion Williams, but he is like a flamethrower. He shot like for his career over 40% from 3, and that dude is bouncy. Like that was the thing. Like I had someone bring him up to me a couple months back, and I was like, okay, he's like a guard who like plays off the ball quite a bit, and like doesn't have impressive defensive numbers, but like he shoots. So it's like, all right, this is like can he luck into being Patty Mills kind of a thing? And then like I watched him chase off the line, and I'm like, oh, this guy can like dunk. Like this dude can really finish above the rim. So I wonder if there's a chance that like he gets hot from 3, he gets to show he can do more as a passer, and then like he has some highlight plays around the basket, and then like all of a sudden it's like, well, he might actually be better than a lot of these other guards here.
I think that's fair, dude. I think that's fair.
Do you want to hit real quick on some guys that were not in the field, or maybe that were on the initial mock that were removed that we like?
Yeah, I feel like there are so many. I know that Simon Sickos for Cincinnati was a guy that was originally on. That was one of the earlier removals. I was really looking forward to seeing him, just because I know that you were on him. You actually wrote about him this year. Big body guy, versatile in a lot of areas. I thought that he would have been fun. Zach Austin from Pittsburgh, I really wanted to see his athleticism show, because I felt like this would have been like the perfect group. I think the only people who could rival him athletically in this group would be Cameron Matthews, but that's a different type of athlete where it's more strength-based instead of pop. He's a guy that I was really, when I saw his name, I was really excited, because I thought that he could have dominated this area. There's a few other ones here or there. I want to save one for you, because
I'll throw out my 2, which were Steve Settle, who I actually have an interview with coming out the day that you're probably listening to this. That'll be out midday on Monday. 6'10" shooter out of Temple, 41.3% from 3 this year. Also averaged a steal and a block per game. So like quintessential 3-and-D. He's really skinny, but can really shoot, can create his own shot a little bit, put on a lot of muscle like over the past years. He's still thin, like don't get me wrong. That is going to be the biggest hurdle for him is the physicality. But he's gotten stronger every year. He like actually made 60% of his shots around the basket, can finish above the rim, moves the ball when his shot isn't there. And after interviewing him, like super, super smart guy. Like I would have considered, I probably would have drafted him if he was in, to be honest with you. Like I had him in my last top 100. Like he's a guy I really like. The other guy who I've had top 100 all year is Matt Cross from SMU.
Yeah.
Who like
is a good one.
Just is a dog. And like all the stuff we talk about, like his played higher usage roles, makes good decisions, super, super scrappy player, awesome rebounder, really good defender. Like Matt Cross would be the number one guy, I think, that I would be like really upset about not being in the field if I was in an NBA front office. Like Cross has been in two-way range for me all season. Really, really love Matt Cross.
Yeah, I think I have him in my top 100. That would have just been another guy that I have in that range as well. I like Matt. Good size, good shooting. There's a lot to like there, man. But we can't be too spoiled because, as we stated earlier,
great field. Yeah.
One of the best fields that we've ever seen. I'm super excited that on Tuesday, I'm going to be making my way up there. Can't wait to get to talk to some people, rub elbows, make connections, get thoughts and feelings, like real-time people responding to the performances of these players. It's going to be excellent. I will be leaving early because I have a family. I'll be leaving Saturday, so I can be in town Sunday for Easter. But I'm excited to be there for a few days, man.
Yeah, I'm thrilled for what we're doing Portsmouth coverage-wise this year. So I'm going to have a preview. Jam's also doing like a 10-question style preview, which would be awesome. He's going to be on the field with you.
Yep.
You and Rich are going to be there too. So I can't wait. Like, I just can't wait for this week as a whole. Like, I'm so excited to watch these games. I'm so excited to hear what you guys are doing on the ground, what you're hearing, the rumblings that you guys are picking up. Like, I could not be more excited. I'm so proud of the crew that we have assembled. Like, we've got people like you, Rich, and Jam who are like in the weeds. That, like, we are so well equipped to cover this because we love getting down in the mud and trying to find these guys that are on the margins. So I couldn't be more excited. Steven, anything you want to toss out before we wrap it up for the week?
No, I just my last week's piece is up live for anyone who hadn't had a chance to catch it yet. It's Elijah Martin winning over everything. Got a lot of positive buzz from people in the world of basketball. I've reached out to some people. I've heard Sam Vecini on Game Theory talk about him. I tweeted at Kevin O'Connor that Elijah Martin's a pro, and he retweeted that and said that's true. So I feel like there's a lot of momentum behind him. We got to get people on Matthew Cleveland, though. That's my next group project that I'll be putting out there. But
yeah,
I'll be putting out articles as well. Like for anyone who's over at NoCeilingsNBA.com, where you should be. The crew just put out some pieces recapping Hoop Summit. I'm going to be doing similar things for Portsmouth for daily recaps too. Yeah. So be sure to be on the lookout for that.
If you're not subscribed to No Ceilings Plus, like you were missing out. The Hoop Summit crew did an unbelievable job. Like
yes.
go individually, go to all of their social media pages and look at the stuff they put out there, and then read all this stuff on NoCeilings.com and subscribe to No Ceilings Plus. No Monday comp for me because the Wednesday Portsmouth preview, written scouting reports on all 64 guys in the field. So if this did not quench your thirst, don't worry. I've got more coming for you. So that's that. And then the following week, I'll put together the written recap as well. And then we'll have thoughts on the ground from our other crew that's there too. So big time stuff coming down the pike. So that will do it. Make sure you're following Steven at Steven G Hoops. Make sure you're following No Ceilings at No Ceilings NBA. Make sure you're following me at Bound Boards. And that will do it. Oh, one more thing from Steven.
I got a saved round. I'm sorry. On top of all this fun stuff, we have a mock draft that we're going to be doing as well. That's not this weekend that everyone's watching live, but the following weekend we'll be doing a mock draft. So big board drop recently. That was well received. Maxwell, we got a lot of love for the overall breakdown of who we had where. That was great. The mock draft is going to be even better. So stay tuned for that.
For sure. Absolutely. So that will do it. We will see you all next week.
Much love, y'all.